Good morning, everybody. Western Medicine Exposed here. This is Dr. Sanders. Today is Tuesday, May 30th. I thought in the segment today we could talk about insurance companies and their formularies for medications. So often you'll go to your doctor and have whatever problem it might be, and they will prescribe a medication. You go to the pharmacy and pick it up, no trouble. Well, there are various diseases, illnesses, whatever, that you may have, and your doctor will provide a medicine, and you go to the pharmacy to pick it up, and they say the insurance doesn't cover it. So what does that actually mean, and what all does that entail? So we'll give you an easy example of what we deal with all the time here. So when somebody comes in with hypothyroidism, their thyroid's not working right and they need some thyroid hormone as a supplement. So we prescribe a medication. Most places prescribe Synthroid or Levothyroid, which is only T4. And we'll do another segment on thyroid here at some point. But many patients, probably most, need some T3 as well. And there's a medication called NP thyroid or Armour thyroid, which is T4 and T3. It's a naturally desiccated form of thyroid, has some T2 in it as well. And it's a single pill. It's a combination of all that into one single pill. And you prescribe that. The patient goes to the pharmacy, and then within a few minutes, we'll get a phone call, maybe an email saying that that medication isn't covered by insurance. And then you have to get online on a place called Cover My Meds, and you have to fill all this information out describing why the patient needs that medication. There's also just a T3 medication, comes in a pill called Cytomel. And a lot of times you have to wind up prescribing that along with the Synthroid, which is T4. So now the patient's having to take two medications as opposed to one, because insurances will often approve two as opposed to one. Why that is, I don't really know. But what goes into an insurance company deciding what is on their formulary? Well, if you look it up and read about it, they'll try to describe that they have doctors and pharmacists and other, quote, experts that are on their pharmacy and therapeutics committee that research drugs and which ones to put on their formulary based on their effectiveness, their patient outcomes, and cost. But if you look into it further, you'll also see that Big Pharma has a lot to do with it. So they'll tell you, if you kind of look, that these pharmaceutical companies will offer rebates. And I suspect that's probably true, because a lot of times drug companies will put out cards with rebates for their particular drug that they're selling for patients to get it cheaper. And so that cost, I guess, up front is given to the insurance companies to put that on their formulary. But what you don't see is what kind of rebate and discount they're getting behind the scenes to have that drug on their formulary. You don't see how much money Big Pharma is pumping into insurance companies to get them to have certain drugs on their formulary. And so the insurance companies are basically being paid to have drugs by certain manufacturers on their formulary to offer to patients. Now, what does that mean for the patient? Well, it means the patient possibly isn't getting the care that they need, because they may have to get an inferior medication. For example, a patient with COPD comes in and you order, this is an older example, but say you order a Symbicort, which is a combination long-acting beta agonist and a steroid, inhaled steroid. Well, the insurance companies wouldn't approve it. They would make them have another inhaled steroid called Asthmacort, which is just an inhaled steroid. So now the patient is having to take two inhalers, and they're having to get a much inferior product, because Asthmacort does not work near as well as what the steroid and Symbicort does. Although they're similar, it just doesn't work as good. Another example with that, there's a long-acting beta agonist inhaled steroid combo called Dulera. For whatever reason, that combo, those particular drugs in that combination do not work near as good as what Symbicort and Advair do. But insurance companies that are paid by the manufacturer of Dulera will have that on their formulary despite it not working as well. Another example is what we were just talking about with the thyroid. So now patients are not able to get T3, which most of them need, or they have to take T3 in a separate medication. So now they're having to take 2 medications as opposed to just 1. None of this makes sense, and they're having to just settle for less and potentially compromise their care. Another example is a nasal spray called Dimista. It's basically an injectable into your intranasal spray that is a combination steroid and antihistamine. Well, the insurance companies won't pay for it, but they'll pay for each of those medications separate. So now the patient's having to do 2 nasal sprays. Makes no sense. I don't understand why that is, but it goes back to money. And it's just unfortunate that American healthcare has gotten to that point that everything is based on money, and it doesn't matter whether something works or not, and the outcomes and what happens to patients and all that is just, it's terrible. American healthcare is really kind of going down the tubes, and I don't really know what else to say about it. It's just it's an unfortunate situation, and we're all in it, and the patients have to deal with it on their end. Us as physicians and providers and the nursing staff and everybody, we deal with it on our end from an administrative time point and everything else. So anyway, I just wanted y'all to kind of know what goes on behind the scenes with medications when you go to the pharmacy and they say the insurance doesn't cover it. Just wanted you to kind of see why that is and what we try to do about it. And unfortunately, there's not much we can do other than potentially prescribe something else that may be an inferior product. Anyway, y'all have a good day, and I will see y'all next time on Western Medicine Exposed.